Hi there, you gorgeous. So it's great to see you again. Welcome to episode 4 of this 10 episode series on chronic inflammation. My name is Katsumi Sakamoto. And if you haven't done it yet, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel so every time we put a new video up, you can be notified. And if for any reason whatsoever this is the first episode of the series that you're watching, please go back and watch the other 3. They are very short videos, but they are full of content so you can be more familiarized with everything that we're talking about here. And I have mentioned before the relation between chronic inflammation and several types of diseases, right? Such as heart disease, type 2 diabetes, arthritis, Alzheimer's, and even some types of cancer. And what we're going to be doing for the next few weeks, we're going to be exploring a little bit further each of these diseases that I've just mentioned so we can understand better and more deeply how inflammation affects these diseases, right? So by the end of our series, we can talk about ways of preventing those problems and which can be the best ways for us to do so, right? So today what we're going to be looking a little bit more in depth at is heart disease. And so we are in the same page, I believe it's important for us to give a conception of what heart disease is. And basically, heart disease is the narrowing of the main arteries in the heart. So the blood flow, the volume gets much smaller, right? And it can be caused by lesions made up of cholesterol, abnormal smooth muscle cells, or even the accumulated platelet cells. And when those lesions, they get big enough, they grow enough, and they obstruct the whole of the artery, stopping the blood flow, that's when we have a heart attack. And talking about heart attacks, according to the World Health Organization, 17.9 million people die every year because of cardiovascular diseases. I'm going to repeat that. 17.9 million people die every year because of cardiovascular diseases. I don't know about you, but for me that's a very scary number. Right? So it is so important that we find ways to avoid that. But the reasons behind heart disease, there are basically 2 explanations that are most accepted in the science realm right now. Both of them, directly or indirectly, are related to the lack of nutrients in our diet. The first one is the lack of vitamin B. What this lack of vitamin B does, it affects how methylation works. And when that happens, we have an increase in the level of homocysteine, which damages our blood vessels. In an attempt to solve that problem, our system ends up accumulating and depositing on the artery walls cholesterol, calcium, and other substances. The second one is the lack of vitamin E, but that's indirect because here we're talking about the LDL, that bad cholesterol that we so much hear about, right? So what happens is that the oxidized LDL cholesterol gets engulfed by the white blood cells. In normal language, that means that the bad fat gets swallowed by the white blood cells, which are part of our defense system. And that deposits on the artery walls, causing it to narrow. So that's basically the two reasons, the two explanations why heart disease happens. And the nature of both homocysteine and LDL, oxidized LDL cholesterol, is an inflammatory nature. And we know that by analyzing the C-reactive protein that I mentioned a couple of episodes ago as a biomarker for inflammation in the body, but the CRP, the C-reactive protein, indicates a general level of inflammation in the body. But what scientists have found is that the level of CRP, it's much more accurate way of measuring the risk of heart disease instead of any other biomarker or cholesterol or anything like that. And what we know now is that those people that have a higher than normal level of CRP in the blood are 4.5 times more likely to develop heart disease than people that have normal levels of CRP. Which means that people who are chronically inflamed are 4.5 times more likely to develop heart disease. So inflammation has everything to do with heart disease. And that's one of the reasons why I've decided to do this series, to bring that information and talk about that and raise awareness of the fact that we are living in a time where our modern way of living, our diet especially, our sedentarism, the pollution, our levels of stress, they are causing our bodies to be chronically inflamed, and these actually is affecting the lives of millions of people all around the world and causing 17.9 million deaths every single year. So it's time for us to talk more about this, right? So I do hope the content of this video has been of some use to you. And we will come back next week to talk about other diseases that are caused and or aggravated by chronic inflammation. But for now, this is it. Please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. That will help a lot. And remember, you are much more amazing than you think. I'll see you soon.